Republicans warning Democrats are about to open the floodgates on the border that is already seeing a record surge. New video shows about 300 migrants pushing through the gate in Del Rio, Texas yesterday. And now Democrats are working to give amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants by adding that, saying that has to be, Pramila Jayapal says it's got to be part of the deal in this infrastructure bill, because they're saying that immigration is infrastructure. In part, Senator Lindsey Graham warning that that could lead to, quote, an invasion. Watch this.
That will lead to an invasion of illegal immigration. It will put jet fuel on a system that's already broken. If you give one person legal status, there will be a run on our border like you've never seen before. The dumbest idea in the history of the Senate, the history of the White House. It will lead to a breakdown of law and order beyond what you see today.
So, Harold, let me start with you. Just what goes through your mind when you look at that image of people pushing on the gates, right, to get in? And then the Border Patrol folks said we were really glad that we had the extra Border Patrol folks from Florida and Nebraska helping us, because it could have turned into a really tough situation. And then eventually it says, further down the piece, they just let them all in.
So it makes me think we need a stronger border security patrol, and that we should not just rely on state militias, and or should rather state police officers and others coming in. Two, it makes you realize that part of what Lindsey Graham said there is correct. If we don't do the first thing here, you could incentivize even more. And three, it screams again the lack of a hemispheric strategy to how we're going to address this challenge, combined with border security first, both beg the question. I think Democrats who believe that we're going to get an amnesty, first of all, the amnesty idea is dumb. I don't know if it's the dumbest idea the Senate or the Congress has come out with, because there's a lot of competition. But this is, any Democrat that votes for something like this is probably setting him or herself up for defeat next November. Some may like that, some may not. I think it's bad for the body politic, but it's just bad policy. Put aside the politics. Finally, and I come back to where I've always been on this, 90 miles off our shore, there's a communist nation called Cuba. We see the unrest there. I think the unrest there could lead to something more positive, because it's the people fomenting all of this. You look at Honduras, Nicaragua, you look at Mexico. We have a challenge in this region that we're not going to solve by remarking on it every night, or even Democrats, Republicans yelling into Congress every day. Get the border done. I even argue for building the wall. And then let's figure out what we do from an aid standpoint to stabilize this hemisphere. We spend trillions of dollars around the globe stabilizing parts of the world. It's the right thing to do. Our security is at stake. How is not spending billions in our own hemisphere not smart for ourselves, our kids, and our grandkids?
You know, I'm just so struck, Jesse, by that image of people pushing on the gate. And one thing that comes to mind is that there's plenty of areas that are wide open. You're right. That they could just, go that way and go through those. The other thing that occurs to me is it's the only place, on the border where that could be possible. Can you imagine people landing in an airport and like rushing the passport agents? That would be everywhere. Can you imagine?
They wouldn't be able to tell them to take their shoes off fast enough, Martha. But I think this is a very powerful piece of footage, because it will influence how people see the Biden border crisis, because you're seeing not families, you're seeing adult grown men force themselves across this barrier with our Border Patrol agents trying to hold the line. This is not families wading across the Rio Grande and surrendering to Border Patrol. You see the border, you see the fence, Americans see that, and they see adult males penetrating it with force. And that is not something that's going to gain sympathy in the American people's eyes. And then you hear about Biden just let them all in afterwards and bust them to God knows where. If he right now continues this policy, we're on pace for 2.3 million illegals. Think about how many we're not catching. And he's basically releasing 30 to 40% of them into this country. And they're not all from Guatemala and Mexico. You're getting people from Africa, from the Middle East, from Venezuela, and there's no way we know who these people are. Dick Durbin even said it. We're opening the borders for political reasons. He says that new voters, a.k.a. foreign-born voters in America, do not vote for the Republican Party, and that is the demographic trend, he said. And he's right. Foreign-born voters vote 2-to-1 Democrat, and 1 in 10 voters are foreign-born, and that trend is going to continue. Axios has reported on this. This is not a conspiracy theory. Forget the politics. How can he square this with a pandemic right now? There's a 900% increase in COVID cases in the Rio Grande sector right now. And so he's now going to say it's dangerous to post something about a vaccine on Facebook, but it's not dangerous to let in hundreds of thousands of unvaccinated migrants into the country and then bus them to swing states? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a good point. And they want to pass digging a $3.5 trillion budget deal that would include pre-K, community college, elder care. So, I mean, you can see why there's a lot of interest in coming here once all of those individuals become part of the beneficiaries of that kind of package.
A vast entitlement state, getting all of America essentially addicted to government handouts. That's what they want to do. Senator Alex Padilla, in a quote, said, "Citizenship is essential infrastructure for immigrant families." Well, no, amnesty is essential infrastructure for the Democrat Party. It is the very foundation in the future of the Democrats retaining power, because right now what we're seeing is crumbling. If they're talking about amnesty, these left-wing nuts in Washington, D.C., it smacks of desperation that they know they're going to lose in the midterms. They know they're going to lose the House by holding it right now by the slightest majority. You know, 50-50 split in the Senate. They know that they're going to lose that.
It's probably the last shot.
So they're just
trying to
they're trying to jam anything through, just like these giant entitlements. And because again, crime, inflation, this LOSC out. Greg.
Yeah, looking at that video, you saw people, you saw an obstacle, which creates friction. So you look at that and go, well, that could have been a wall, right? That could have been a wall. The only reason why they got in is that they were let in. But imagine if that, I mean, this kind of is a visual representation of what could be there and what could have worked. And to Jesse's point, you do see that this is it's not a Cuba situation. It doesn't feel like refugees. It feels like work. Like they're coming here to work, which is, it's great for corporations. They're going to get cheap labor. But what is that going to do to our unemployment rate at this rate, right? We're going to have people that aren't working, and they're not going to work for the hourly wages they're going to work for. And that's the other part of this, is that this is there's a lot of corporations that really love this stuff because it's a few steps away from slave labor. It's cheap.
Maybe a few more than you think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.